Grammy-winning producer.
Almost won one. It really learned me. Not you
talking about education.
It learned me.
Come on with it.
Education, it really learned me. And I was just so career driven and so career focused.
I have to give him a little razzle dazzle.
Little razzle dazzle.
Sometimes
Every now and then you gotta say, hey, what you talking about?
Or who has been an artist, I should say, that you have worked with, and you're like, man, that person, like, I'm gonna remember that lesson that I learned. Can you talk about the importance of balancing family?
He came into my life. The things that I used to chase started chasing me.
Woo!
Miss Tashara Parker.
You could just be your whole self.
I knew that I wanted to do something to have impact.
You actually testified before the Texas Senate.
We just want to exist.
Representation matters. You can make a difference every single day.
Show up authentically, loud and proud as the person that you truly are. We're still having a conversation.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional.
The internet's favorite cousin.
I appreciate you showing up as your natural self.
This is a good question, Tashara.
Thanks for bringing it up. Nobody ever brings up.
You're pretty good at this.
We have a lot more coming up. I wanted to see in action.
We're so happy to have you on Loud and Clear. Look, I know y'all gonna hear me say this all the time, but this is probably one of my favorite interviews. And I truly mean that because I remember having this guest on at my previous network that I work for. And I was so excited about the work that he was doing, even more excited now that I get to talk to him on my own platform, okay? So if you're somebody out there that has humble beginnings, like so many of us, what that means to kind of transition into prosperity and really using your background to do the work that you're doing, and to continue pushing with that work and being a lot of us are that individual when you go into these boardrooms and having these discussions. And sometimes it can be a little lonely. So we're going to talk about all of those things. So welcome to the Loud and Clear Show once again with Tashara Parker. You guys know we amplify stories that matter and dive into deep moments that move us all. I'm your host, Tashara Parker, and today we're sitting down with a creative powerhouse who has redefined what it means to be a multi-talented individual in the entertainment industry. J Rhodes is not just a Grammy Award-winning producer. He's an author, filmmaker, educator, and so much more, mentor to the next generation of storytellers. From crafting chart-topping beats for legends like Lecrae and Killer Mike to creating thought-provoking films like It's a Wonderful Plight. J Rhodes proves that artistry knows no boundaries, and I promise you when you hear this conversation, you're gonna see why. It doesn't stop there. Through his book, These Beats Ain't Free, and its highly anticipated sequel, These Dreams Ain't Free, cause they ain't, J Rhodes offers a blueprint for aspiring creatives to turn their passion into purpose and profit. Today, we're unpacking his journey, the highs, the lessons, and the legacy he's building for the culture. So Loud and Clear family, let's get ready to dive into the mind of truly a visionary. Please welcome the incomparable J Rhodes.
Good to see you.
Good seeing you. Seriously.
Not for real talk.
It's been what? How many years? Years. It's been years.
It's been a few years.
That's crazy.
In the
Life
flesh.
be like. Didn't you leave and go do something? Or where were you a professor at?
I'm teaching. I'm still teaching
Yeah.
in Boston, but I'm
In
back
Boston.
so much. Like I'm a professor at Berklee College of Music, but I'm back in.
The baby just gonna throw Berklee College of Music out there like that's just a little razzle dazzle.
I do a little this or that, but no, I'm back and forth so much because I got so much business in Dallas, and then my daughters are here, so I live on a plane, but it's worth it. It was just a wonderful opportunity, so it's worth it. So I'm back and forth.
J Rhodes on the Loud and Clear Show. How you doing?
I'm blessed.
Yeah,
How are you?
blessed. I'm good, man. I'm finally getting into this entrepreneurial world, which you've been a part of forever at this point. But it's new. It's freeing, which has been a blessing to me. So just learning how to navigate all this stuff, man. You come from structure for so long, right? And now as an entrepreneur, it's up to you. You got to create that structure.
Yeah.
So it's been cool.
Well,
It's been a lot.
I
but
want
it's
you
been
to
cool.
know that Dallas, the nation, the world supports you. We support you. Like wherever you go, whatever you do, that's where we're at. So, I mean, whatever you need, I can speak for a lot of people when I say that we ride for Tashara. So
Man, dog, don't start. You gonna have me out here like we ain't
real.
even really started yet.
Nah, we got you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate
you.
Do they need to move his mic in a little bit?
I would love you to bring
Okay, for sure. About right here.
And
okay,
I'm
my
not
bad.
cutting that out because it's part of it.
Yeah,
Okay, so you from Oak Cliff?
Yes, ma'am.
That's you ain't gonna put no funk on it? That's
my hood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what it is.
You grew up in Oak Cliff, okay?
Yes,
and that really shaped your perspective on, I would say, creativity and even on storytelling. How did that happen for you over time?
Well, coming from the inner city, I think it's just more so, like, I say, like, being from Oak Cliff is so cool because it really just like you say, changes your perspective. And if you, almost like New York City, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think it was just a lack of opportunity in certain places and a lack of exposure. So everything that I wanted to do, I had to seek it. And then I had to believe it because it wasn't too many things modeling that. So if you want to be a producer, like, what are you going to do it? And back then, I'm dating myself. We didn't have Google.
Okay.
We had to, like, really, like, search and find these things.
You mean you had to do some real research?
You had to do some real research. Like,
Yeah.
if you wanted to be a music producer, you had to go, research music production. You had to hang around, at studios and do all of those things. But I think the coolest thing about it for me is that wherever I go, Oak Cliff is with me.
Yeah.
And I think the coolest thing about making it from the inner city, whether it's Oak Cliff, whether it's, H-Town, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Stay down.
Where you stay down, you feel me? Is that you have so many different perspectives. I can walk in any room. It can be, for lack of better words, it could be somewhere in the hood, and I can be me, and I can excel. I can be at a college, and I can be myself, and I can excel. It's so many different places that I can be that I don't have to morph myself to be successful.
Yep.
And I think when you come from, humble beginnings in a sense, like my parents, I don't want my mama out there like, you ain't come from the hood. Like, Mama, I love you. We know you and father, your daddy worked hard, but I came from the inner city and there were some tough things about it. But I think when you come from those kind of humble beginnings, then, it just really, like, helps you to be stronger in everything that you do.
I want to ask you a little bit more about that, also from the inner city, right? Any stereotype for an inner city kid that you can put out there was probably part of my neighborhood to a certain extent. And so I do want to ask you, like, just in general, how do you feel like coming from where you come from, even if you weren't attacked, so to speak, by all the stereotypes that could be associated with certain neighborhoods, right? How do you utilize that background to continue to propel you forward, being in all of these boardrooms, corporate schools, but can still be, in the studio doing what you need to do? How do you balance that, and how have you used that to continue to propel you forward?
I think just being a voice for the voiceless, in a sense, knowing that you're that, like at the end of the day, a lot of places that I go when I'm in boardrooms, I am like one of the only young African-American people there. And so it's like a lot of that perspective. I represent so many when I'm there. And so I always bring those perspectives with me. So it's just like I always come with that unique perspective no matter where I'm at, and I always represent it. So I think really it's just like kind of championing a place that is underserviced in a sense. And so that's what I try to bring to any place that I'm at.
I love that. Okay, so you've done a lot in your life. You say you're going to date yourself by talking about us not having Google. But at the same time, like, you're still a young man, okay, in my eyes. Seriously. So you've done a lot. Grammy-winning producer. What was that journey like, getting to that point? But also when you found out you won, walk me through all of that.
Well, I think the way that that God structured it to happen was the best way, because I almost won one in 2014 on a Lecrae album that I produced for.
Nice.
And it was cool, but it didn't get nominated in a certain category that I was in. And so back then I was just so career driven and so career focused that it hurt me when it didn't happen. Like, it just was like so tough and just so, oh man, it didn't happen.
I know.
But the way that God made it happen is that it was so much growth about a decade later that I had my perspectives right. I had, everything in order. A lot of times we say family first and we know that it's right in our brain, but it's not in our heart and our spirit. Ooh. And so I think the way, and I was teaching at Berklee and on set with King of Dallas, the film. So even though I'm always grounded in music, I was doing the least amount of music that I was doing in my career.
Wow.
And so one of my good friends, DJ Menace, who is a cancer survivor, and that's when we got close. So we got cool when he was battling cancer. He, beat that. And after he rung the bell, he was like, hey, I'm working with Killer Mike. I love what you do. You're a real cool person too. he wants some drums on this record, let's collab on it. So I collabed on it, didn't think anything of it. It gets on the Killer Mike project, it gets on Madden and so many other things. So
on Madden too?
Madden, it was on
Dope.
Madden too, just so many different things. It's been in movies, etc. But the point of it is that he came into my life just being a real good friend, and the things that I used to chase started chasing me. So
you gotta repeat that for the people. The things you used to chase, what?
The things that I used to chase, when everything got aligned and I started really having a proper focus, they started chasing me. So I'm happy that it happened that way. Like, it was just an indirect thing, and it just happened through the grace of God, and it was a blessing. We got dressed up, we went to the Grammys, and we got to see Killer Mike win 3 back-to-back, and it was just a beautiful thing. And so I wouldn't have wanted my first, to get my first Grammy certificate any other way than that way, because I knew that God orchestrated it.
That is beautiful. You mentioned something that really stood out to me, especially as so many career-driven folks are doing the work that they're doing. Oftentimes, family relationships take a back burner.
Yeah.
And so a back row seat, I should say. So I do want to ask you more about that. And you say, I'm happy that it didn't happen back in 2014, because that's all I was focused on. Fast forward, nearly a decade later, and you're like, no, like, I had my priorities in order. So can you talk about the importance of balancing family while also still trying to do what you need to do career-wise?
Yeah, I can. It's I think, being an active father and really wanting to be in my daughters, lives to the fullest. I have four girls, so that's a lot.
You have 4 girls? I did not know that.
That's
Four girls.
a bunch. But I think it's just more really, it's always you try to find balance in all of these things. But I think when you are okay with saying no to things, and just that whole paradigm shift of everything feeds your family life. Because for me, that's what it is now. Like, whatever happens, I really enjoy the most spending time with them. And everything I try to do is to orchestrate around being present and doing things. And, it's still, you never, as an artist and as an entrepreneur, there's never actual balance. But I think when everything in your life can start working together, I think that's when you start getting closer to achieving balance. And then there's just a peace within you when you're okay with things not happening. Like I say, I have this saying, safety and health and everything else is extra. So as long as, literally, as long as my kids are safe and healthy, as long as I'm safe and healthy, then everything else that you get is extra. And so that's just kind of my mantra. And when you really feel that, man, then you start really knowing just how much God blesses you in abundance past that extra. So that's kind of, what took place. It was about a decade change that really kind of changed my perspective.
That's good. You got a lot of projects that you're working on, but I do want to talk about one in the past, and we'll transition into some other things. Okay. These Beats Ain't Free. It's been described as a guide for turning passion into profit. What inspired you to write that, and what has been the response from the industry?
Cool. These Beats Ain't Free. In 2015, I think I really started getting into music education. I love education, because I think education is forever. So anyway, we can get to that. But I think I almost didn't write the book, because around the same time, like Timbaland and L.A. Reid wrote books. And so it really learned me.
Not you talking about education.
It learned me.
Come on with it.
Education, it really learned me. But no, it really taught me just everybody has space that they can hold.
Yeah.
So my book was important because I could relate, even though I was in the industry and I was successful, I could relate to the bedroom and up-and-coming producer more than L.A. Reid or Timbaland could.
Absolutely.
So I was just like, nah, I'm gonna write this book. And it was just like 100-page kind of like how-to and self-help on helping people in the industry. When I'm telling you, Tashara, like people in Australia have bought this book, Dubai, like literally it's been a worldwide thing, because a lot of people, I like kind of really touched a lot of people, and I've been guiding a lot of people over a decade, because I wrote it and it came out in 2015, and it's just been humbling to know how many people have been inspired by this book. And so that's for anybody. Just because somebody else is doing it and it may seem that it's on a higher level, you have a place, and your place, you have to get your stuff out in the world. So I'm happy that I did that, because that book and that movement and that brand catapulted my career.
Come on. And when you talk about putting pen to paper, that's something that's forever.
Yeah.
Right? And
sure.
people have to understand that when you're writing books and you're making sure that you're capturing historical narratives and narratives in general and teaching someone else how to do what you've done so that they don't make the same mistakes or have to go through all the steps that you went through, right? Even though that's helped elevate you to where you are right now, that's stuff that's necessary. And that's going to be forever. They can always go pick up that book or buy it from somebody, whatever it is, right? That's something that's going to always be out there. So I love that you did that. What new lessons or stories can readers expect in your upcoming book, These Dreams Ain't Free?
Well, I'm glad you asked. But I think with These Beats Ain't Free, it was primarily for music producers.
Yeah.
I mean, you could kind of like, some things were transferable across the board, but in this decade, I've moved into so many different things, from, being a professor, being an educator, being on film sets, producing movies, just so many different things that I feel I wanted to still focus on music producers, but open it up to dreamers in general.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things just about, and I tell my students this often, I think people think that there is just always some special formula to success, when really it's the same elements.
Yeah.
Of course, the stories that I tell are different and they're relatable to me, but it's working hard, not giving up, treating people right, and just really like getting your passion out there. So of course, these things, we say it in an elaborate way, but I really, it's at the same time, it's just really applying those principles and making them unique to who you are. And that's what I think These Dreams Ain't Free does. It really is just a lot of stories from my perspective, and I think it's a more personal book.
Yeah.
A lot of pictures, been in a lot of places, and when I accumulated those things, like, it's really like in 102 pages, it's really a testament and humbling to all the places that God has put me. And I think those stories in itself can inspire any dreamer or any entrepreneur that reads it.
Yeah, which is certainly necessary. You mentioned something, treating people right, before I go into my next question. You mentioned treating people right. What has been an artist, or who has been an artist, I should say, that you have worked with, and you're like, man, that person, like, I'm going to remember that lesson that I learned from them because they treated me right, or how you felt like you needed to be treated in said situation. So what's been a lesson or a person that you've worked with? Okay,
let me see, because I've been blessed to work with a few. I'm going to say, and people have, various stories, but for me, it's going to be Dr. Dre.
Okay.
And I'm saying, for me, because I've heard different stories, but he was very gracious to me. I think he really knew how inspirational he was to me. And so for him to really, when I come in, he told me to press play, for him to really like love my music and be like, hey man, you wanna stay around and kick it and make some music? And I'm like, yeah, I ain't got nothing better to do.
Right. And if you did, you wasn't about to do it right then.
But I would say, like, for me, it's not just what it was. Of course, it was a very inspirational moment. And shout out to DOC, my man DOC, for linking that up. But I just think that there was a lot of things in a lot of ways that he could have been, because he's Dr. Dre. But he really, 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 for me in that moment, treated me, with respect and kindness, and that really like helped me in that moment, So I'm very thankful for how he conducted himself with me in that studio.
What was the most rewarding part of working with the industry when it comes to the industry with working with Killer Mike?
Well, I love his message, and I think it was a full circle moment, because I remember when maybe it was right when Killer Mike got released from the label or something like that, and I was an up-and-coming music producer, like, could have been even 2010. It was a long time ago, and I remember telling him, I'm like, hey, we gonna work, and he was like, yeah, let's do it.
Really?
And then, I promise you, but 14 years later, it popped off.
That's crazy.
And then I think at the 14 years later, he had done a run of Jews, and he had really became what he was gonna be, and more. And in those 14 years plus, I started doing my thing.
Yeah.
So let me see, about 14 years. So I think it was a real cool full circle moment to be involved in that and to work with him on that music.
So I think one of the first times that I met you was when I invited you on the show for It's a Wonderful Plight.
Yes.
Okay, so talk about It's a Wonderful Plight and how it combined music and film, but I also want you to relate this to just anyone who is a dreamer, right, who wants to get out there and do something differently, right, because there are a lot of people who are creatives, and I feel like that creativity just continues to diminish over time as we get older, because maybe the dream didn't happen when they thought it should, right? life can get in the way, of course, many things. But talk about creating that, how you incorporate all of those different elements, and you put a lot of hometown heroes on there too.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
we got to talk about that as well.
Yeah. Well, It's a Wonderful Plight is a hip hop musical, and it was my first feature film. And we got inspired because me and my film partner Corey Williams. We went to the American Black Film Festival. It was cool to get invited to that, and I just saw Black Hollywood there, and I was like, man, this is so inspirational. So in that moment, I think the coolest thing about that film is I used all the tools that we had to do the best that we had. Like we didn't have the best cameras at that point, like because It's a Wonderful Plight was shot with photo cameras. You know what I'm saying? They had film aspects. Like people, man, we made it happen. And I think the coolest thing about it was just putting all of these talents together to make something and to really get the message out there, because it's like it's taking from A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life, kind of got that whole vibe to it, and it was a strong message. It was like, I think it was close to COVID, and it was around the time of Botham Jean, and so I mean, just on and on, just say their names, right? And so I think the subject matter was very needed, in the way that it was like presented to the world was immaculate. Like this film that we shot for $5,000 made it to the USA Today as one of the films to watch in 2021.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's God. That's God working.
There's nothing but God. And I think there's art in doing the best that you can at that moment.
Well, what you have. Yes.
I think people don't understand that. People want to get, there's never going to be a perfect moment.
Yeah.
But I think it's art, and you're honoring what you're given. I think we took all the resources that we had in that moment, and we made a film that reached the masses just because we did the best we could with it. And like you say, same thing with written word. Film is something that's forever.
Yes.
So that film is still here, and it's still a very poignant piece. And man, it was great. It took us, we got on Sway in the Morning with it. We went on this big tour. Like, you talked to us a couple of times about the film.
Absolutely.
And I think you were the first big outlet, you know what I'm saying? That's how you do.
Because baby, I used that platform, and made it do what it do for the people.
You just say you for the people.
Yes.
And so I can go on and about it, but I would love for the people, if you're watching this, to check out It's a Wonderful Plight. And I think it'd be a good introductory into the stories and the messages that I like to tell through film.
Tell them where they can watch it at.
They can watch it on Amazon Prime right now. We're going to also repackage it. It should be a lot of other places soon, but right now it's on Amazon Prime.
I do want to acknowledge, you mentioned Botham Jean. For those of you who are not familiar with the story, you can certainly go and Google that. But Botham Jean during that time was the young man who was at home in his apartment eating ice cream, doing what he should be doing in his home, and a Dallas police officer shot him to death, and killed him because she allegedly went to the wrong apartment and thought she had an intruder in her apartment. So you can do a lot more research on that, but rest in peace to Botham Jean.
Rest in peace.
For sure. Amber Geiger is her name, by the way, the police officer.
Yes. Good job.
So anyways, what I also want to talk about is you talk about doing what you can with what you have at the time. So I'll be transparent. So when it comes to the podcast world and digital storytelling with this TV show with Loud and Clear, initially I wanted this whole big hoopla. And Tony's behind the scenes. This is his studio, by the way. He's behind the scenes right now. And at the time I was like, whew, I can't do that right now. It just wasn't in my budget to do it. However, I still went ahead and produced a few episodes because I was like, you know what, I need to do what I can with what I have. And I wanted to do that because I'm also a perfectionist, and I'll sit there and sit on something for like days and weeks and months and years, and then you go see somebody else doing, you're like, man, that was my little idea. I could have did it, but you didn't do what you could with what you had at the time. And then, even me, when I listen to some of my episodes that I've already put out, I'm like, man, that audio ain't how I want it, or man, this ain't how I want it. However, I put it out there, and I did what I could with what I had at the time. And so I do want to ask you to kind of dive into that a little bit more, because people sit on something for a really long time and they'll wonder, why it's never going to get better, but it's going to get better after you put it out there and you keep trying your best to make it better. So what advice do you have to those dreamers, creatives who are out there like, not yet, it's not my time? Anytime is your time.
No, I think it's like anytime is your time. Now is the time where you get your on-the-job training.
Yeah.
Seriously, because the idea is when you're a creator, you just have, and one thing I will let you know, because I don't know if a lot of creators feel like this. Sometimes I always try to be as unique as possible. I'm at home kicking myself because anytime you think of an idea, sometimes people do be biting.
Yeah.
Other times it's just how ideas work. You think something, it's in the universe, and then it's gonna go to somebody else.
Correct.
Here. So sometimes you need to beat people to market and just get out there and get it, because if you thunk it, somebody gonna get it.
Come on, thunk it, yes,
thunk it.
did.
So it's more like you have to, and I think the thing about it is you never know which idea is gonna hit.
Yes.
We are married to these things, but the path that we have, you never know. I never know I was gonna get into film. I never know this was gonna happen or that was gonna happen. But you need to do the idea you have now, because it may be a stepping stone to something else. And I think that the ideas that we thought were going to be so great, they just gave us the practice and on-the-job training for the things that we're doing presently.
Right.
So just get out there and do the work, and I promise you, you just have to get out there and do it now, and then you'll get better and better.
Yeah, and I feel like you have to give voice to what you want to do, right? A lot of times we want to keep our ideas to ourselves because we're afraid somebody's going to take it, somebody's going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But at the same time, you'll be surprised that when you put something out there and speak it into the universe, how many people will rally around you and try to support the work that you're doing. So you got to go ahead and put it out there. I do want to ask you this. As a producer, filmmaker, educator, author, I'm going to throw dad in there. Which hat has been the most challenging to wear?
Of course, I'm gonna say dad.
Okay.
Because you got 4 girls in this crazy world, 4 different personalities.
What are the age ranges?
17.
Woo. Okay.
Yeah, about to be 18. My stepdaughter's 15.
Okay.
10 and 6.
So 2 teenagers, so to speak.
Yeah, 2 teenagers.
Okay.
Man, so it's crazy. But I think really, because it's just like everything that you do is kind of like centered around them. So you try to find that balance, and it has been challenging, but it's been the most rewarding.
Yeah.
Because I haven't always, you get better with it. I haven't always been the best, but there's no. I'm saying I've always gave the effort.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But as you see yourself growing into that and getting better and building those relationships, I would say it's the most challenging and the most rewarding, because the better and the more balance I get with that, the better producer I am, the better film director I am, the better professor I am. So I think that thing feeds all the other things. So I have to give it up to being a father.
I love that. As an educator, what lessons, not only do you give your students, but I mean, family, friends, people that are around you, people that are in your orbit, what lessons do you pass along to those individuals who look up to you, who see the work that you've done, who see what you've been able to create over the years? How do you pass those lessons down, and what lessons are there that you pass down?
The main lessons that I try to pass down to my students and, and people in general, but it's just taking things that you can, specifically with the music industry, because I say that if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or so many other things, even though it can take a long time, you have a direct path to it in a sense, right? You can go to... your undergrad, the this, that, and the third, and okay, you work hard, you'll be a doctor. Music is so, in the arts is so different because it can take a year or it can take 20.
Yes.
But I think the main thing is just to really find something that you love. And this is across the board. You find something that you love and that you're passionate about, and it won't be work. Yeah. And so once you find that thing that you can't do without, then you found that thing. Once you find that thing that you would do for free, you'll find that thing that you can get, that you should get paid for.
Yeah, but these dreams and these beats ain't free.
They ain't free.
We gonna say that one more time, okay? What's your vision for Vintage Rhodes Productions? What's your vision for it?
I think my ultimate vision is just I'm working now to get to a point to where artistically at any moment, my idea can get to the world. Okay. Because I think my ideas, period. Yeah. Because right now, I got a buzz, I got a following, etc. But right now, as an artist, I think everybody has their struggles. I struggle with the fact that I think I have a lot of amazing art that everybody hasn't heard or seen. Yeah. And I don't want them to hear it or see it because I just want to be, look at me. I think there's a strong message that can heal so many communities, specifically ours, and that can really power the world in so many ways. And so ultimately with Vintage Rhodes, whether it's a beat, whether it's an album, whether it's a film, whether it's a book, I think the more I grow my platform and as God expands it, to be able to instantly, let's just say for lack of better words, be able to go viral with my message is kind of really what I want. Yeah. And so I think that's like the ultimate goal, because I love what I'm doing, but it's just to keep pushing it. And I know I'm real close, like something gonna crack to where at any moment an idea thought, because I'm a creator. I'm talking about all day I got these ideas. But so often I'm not just working on an idea, I'm working on this exuberant plan so the idea can go worldwide. Like, oh, we gotta do this, So I'm working on that, but I think I want Vintage Rose Productions as it is. It's just like man, it's an art company. And so I just would love my art to easily go to the world, because that's how I converse. I'm not on arguing with people on social media all day. Every now and then I go a little back and forth.
We might have to give them a little razzle dazzle.
Sometimes every now and then you gotta say, hey, what you talking about? But I think that's how I communicate. Like I'm more like a work person, and through my art is how I communicate. And I would like to have that conversation with the 8 billion people in this world.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned that you want your whatever idea it is to go worldwide and to be that worldwide phenomenon. I always tell people anything that I do, especially with the art and what I love about storytelling, and especially with the show, I want this to be a global show.
Amen.
And I've had people from all around the world. It's only been a month, maybe 2 at this point. At the point where people will hear this, maybe 3 months. But even since I've had people from, countries that I ain't even got a chance to visit yet, okay? Y'all over there downloading. I don't know how you found it, but I'm happy that you did, okay? So thank you to everyone who continues to listen in and download the show. But I'm so thrilled that you said that, because I want people to think bigger about the art and the work that they're doing. Oftentimes, when you get into these meetings, and, I've been around a lot of creatives, as of late, and they're like, well, I just want it to be this or it to be that. I'm like, no, baby, we want it to be this, not this, And I just want people to think bigger about the work that they're doing.
Amen.
What advice, especially speaking of wanting your ideas to be worldwide and known across the world, what advice would you give to aspiring creatives who want to succeed in multiple industries like you have?
I would say master something first.
Yeah.
The reason that I can do a lot of different things is because I was anchored in music production and in music. Like I put my probably 40,000 hours in that.
Yeah, come on.
So when I started pivoting, it was like, okay, well, I kind of know film. So let me really get into that. And then I started pivoting into music education because of my 40,000 plus hours I put into music. And so I say this ad nauseum, but my music is the roots of my career tree. And then so from that, when I'm strongly rooted, I can grow all of these various branches. So if you want to do multiple things, focus on something that can anchor you in all those things. Like, because once you get anchored, then your tree can be strong. Then you can grow those branches. But if you're not rooted in something, then you're going to be a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Right. So. Right. And when you're a jack of all trades, baby, they looking at you that way, and they don't see you as an expert or have the expertise in one single area.
Amen.
So very, very, very good. Anything else you want to tell folks that you're working on, knowledge that you want to pass along?
Man, well, like King of Dallas right now is out on Amazon Prime, but it should be going to subscription and some other streaming platforms soon. So that's something that was a labor of love to create a post-apocalyptic film.
Yeah.
We made a $1 million film on an indie budget. So I'm proud of that. That was the hardest piece of art that I've had to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's time to let it go and let it do its thing in the world. But that was about 4 years in the process of making that. Yeah. Working on some new music and preferably in 2025, I can, start producing on some other big projects. These Dreams Ain't Free coming out, looking at February 3rd, eyeing that day.
Okay.
Man, it's so many things. I can go on and on, but just tap in with me. You know what I mean? I think I'm an artist in every sense of the word, and I would love for a lot of you, if you don't know me, to go on this artistic journey with me.
And for the people that are out there that are listening, y'all better tap in right now, because, I'm going to give them about a year. Not even that long. I'm going to give them about 5-6 months.
It's that H
okay?
time.
Yeah. And if you ain't tapped in right now, baby, you probably ain't gonna be able to tap in later. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Prices jump.
Okay, look, yesterday's price is not today's price. J Rhodes, everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so thankful for you.
So proud of you.
Thank
proud of you.
you.
And again, we got you. Wherever you go, we go. The people go, because you're the people's champion.
I appreciate you. Thank you, J Rhodes. Thank you.